Good morning. Hi there. Melanie Carr here with the Erotic Abundance Podcast. I'm a medical intuitive, life coach or life mentor who more than anything just is here to share my experience in my life as how I broke through the family pattern of waking up, working, being a slave to the responsibilities of family. And I think as a young child, I saw my parents struggling to keep our family going. We grew up in Vancouver, Canada. They had moved from Calgary, Alberta to Vancouver, and they were a young family starting out with nothing and moving to another city. And I think from a very young age, my experience was there's not enough, and we have to work really hard. And I think that is the typical family background for a lot of families. I was very young, and I knew, even as a young child, that I wanted to do with my life what I felt passionate about, what I loved. That's what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't want to work in my life. I didn't want to spend my life working, feeling like a slave to a company or any of those things. I saw the stress in my parents, and both my parents. And they were both musicians, and then it just couldn't be enough money made as music teachers in order to keep two young children in a big city, in order to keep us fed and pay the rent. And so my father was working 2 or 3 jobs most of his life, and my mother, she at 30 years old decided to become an accountant, a certified general accountant. She took the CGA program. So from 30 to 40 years old, I watched her work full-time job and study university at nighttime. She finished her CGA at 40 years old, and that is extremely that's what most young people do in their 20s, not a mother with 2 children. So I had extremely wonderful life mentors, hardworking parents. When I was a child, I wanted to sing, so I just I was like, I'm going to sing. I want to sing. I wanted to be like Whitney Houston and Toni Braxton. And I loved these beautiful voices and the songs and the romantic songs. And I would spend hours in my room singing in front of the mirror as a young child. So my parents would say, well, you can't make a living doing that. We tried to be music teachers, and they were kind of a bit afraid for me, and I didn't even consider the possibility of not being able to make a living doing what I loved. It seemed to me like it wasn't an option to live life without doing what I was passionate about, without doing what turned me on in my life, which gave me energy. I just felt so passionate about music. And so at 16, I finished high school, and I remember saying to myself, well, I have a job. I was working as a lifeguard for the city, and I was making $20 an hour. It was pretty good wage at that age. I had my own little car, and I said, no, I'm going to study music, and if I have to pay for that myself, I will. I'm going to do this. I don't really care what anyone else thinks. I have this idea in my mind. I've always been like this ever since I was a young child. So now, as a life mentor, working with people mostly to help them understand that their life purpose and their passion, and that's what this Erotic Abundance podcast is about. It's about how do you take that life force energy, the creative energy that you have in your soul, in your body, in your connection with the earth, in your connection with higher self, and unify it so that we're not separating out our energy because of fears and taboos and because of family beliefs or even situations of government, country, religious belief systems, whether you're a man or a woman. All of those things, they don't matter when it comes down to you doing what you came here to do, you doing what you feel passionate about. And when you get to that place in your life where you can actually break through that family pattern and be one of the first people in your family to follow that passion since childhood and say, I'm going to work doing what I love, because if I do what I love, I will do it so well that I will be successful at it. And the most amazing thing is, I wasn't that great of a singer, so I didn't have an amazing natural talent. I just really loved it. And I wasn't that great a stage performer either, because I was quite shy. So every time I got up to sing, I felt quite terrified. It took me 20 years of singing to get to a place where I could get up and sing and just feel comfortable in front of people. So that was a very interesting part of the journey, because it wasn't something I was naturally good at or even felt that comfortable doing. I just really loved it. It's just something I really wanted to do. So it was strange. And I think that got me to a place where I also discovered that, my voice singing and the fact that I wasn't really, really talented with a amazing natural talent also led me into discovering that my new way of singing as I matured in my life and as I wanted to help other people to get to a place where their life was passionate and amazing and turned on like the way I had lived mine, was that the singing had helped me get to a place where I could communicate and talk and become the life mentor that I wanted to be for other people. And I think that was more the purpose of me following that passion, to get to a place where I would do what I'm doing now in my life. Having the retreat center we have here in the hotel and creating this space in nature in a foreign country with different belief systems, with different language, in a place far from family or any kind of support system other than the community around me. And, if you are able to be an ethical, kind, loving, emanating that beautiful energy out into the world, that energy comes from you being passionate about what you're doing. You will receive the help you need from the community and people around you and from the universe. It's a beautiful opportunity to grow in that faith that there's a deep purpose inside each person, and that deep purpose is just screaming to be expressed. In this podcast, I've talked about a creative energy and the sexual energy and connection, and in the last podcast, in the ebb and flow of the energy of the universe. And I think the most important thing is to really, really realize that this energy that's inside yourself, this passion, it's something that's just waiting to be born inside of you. And if you feel your life is stagnant and you're not doing what you love and you're stuck in a job or you're stuck in a situation where you're not sure how you're going to survive if you leave the tedious work that you have, it's just a question of starting one small step at a time. It's just like with the podcast, getting this started now. I mean, it's been 20 years creating the hotel. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if I spend another 20 years creating the podcast and the YouTube channel and all of the things. It's just a question. I wake up every day and I say, well, what can I post today? What can I talk about this morning? I was listening to Colin Boyd talking about his conversation stories and how if you're the first person in your family to break through one of those structures? Were you able to break through alcoholism and drug abuse? Or were you able to break through? He was talking about Nelson Mandela, and he was talking about, breaking through racism. Are you the first person to break through working in a tedious job that you don't love and being a slave to this culture of consumerism, where we're working just to satisfy our desire to have more when we don't really understand what we really want in life? When you find your passion and you start living that passion, I get very little pleasure out of going shopping. I really get more pleasure of buying an online system that will help me with my life mission. I get sucked into buying online programs to help me get forward in sharing the passion and the message I have in my life with others. I don't spend money on clothes, and sometimes I actually have to say, hey, you need to go out and get some, clothes and, makeup so that you can do some photos, so that you can do your online stuff and look good. After all the years of singing and having to look amazing in the hotels, I got to a place where I didn't really care whether I had makeup on or not. It's just so secondary. But then my bipolar personality of, in the daytime, being a jungle, working in the jungle project, and then at night getting really fancy, dressed up and going out to work in the Ritz-Carlton or sing jazz in the lobby bar of the Fairmont, or these beautiful hotels I worked in. It was very, very wonderful. It was a wonderful experience. And I sang every day pretty much for 23 years. I loved it so much, and I was able to make a very good living in Mexico as a singer, as a musician, as a lobby bar singer. I mean, I was able to do a few really cool things and go to Cuba and make a CD and participate in some international jazz festivals and things that were really, really special experiences for me. But it became really, really clear to me that my singing was going to be this podcast and the YouTube channel, and just develop little by little. Just pick up my phone in the morning when I feel inspired and say to people, you can do this. If I can wake up every day and create some piece of content to share with others, no matter how good or bad it is in the beginning, but to get up and to have that inspiration to just wake up and to push forward, and each day just wait for that energy to come up through your body, up from the earth. When you feel that inspiration and you feel that energy, then you just grab your phone, or you just get in your car, or you just go talk to the person you need to talk to. And right now we're going through a situation with the hotel for the past year, and this year too, it looks like it's going to be the same thing. We're going through the whole situation with the government permits in Mexico, the municipal government permits, and it's very challenging because I want to move forward with the coaching, with the retreat center, with the massage and the spa. I want to move forward with all these exciting advances, and I'm stuck working through permits, ecology permits and building construction permits and all this government red tape. And it's difficult because sometimes you see, okay, so I'm navigating through, this year I had saved up the money to get through the process. And then instead of it being what we thought it was going to be, it was going to cost 3 times as much. And we can't resolve it by getting through the process again. One more year, we're going to have to just kind of cover up the situation as best as possible, get the permit, pay to get the permit, and next year try again, save up more money next year and try to get through the whole process so that we actually have all the documentation. And it's really one of those situations where I step back and I wait and I navigate, and I woke up 6 o'clock this morning, and in my mind I was going through the conversations I was going to have with the different government people and how I was going to approach the situation and how I was going to navigate, negotiate, communicate, come to an agreement, and try again. Next year, I will try again. I will go through this year making sure that all of the parts, the ecological things, the recycling, everything is totally in order for the ecology. Everything is totally in order for the construction permits, because we built the hotel for 20 years. So now that the municipal government has come in, we've got to do all the permits and all of the red tape and all of the processes. So all of these areas, it's like building the roots. All of these areas have to be taken care of. And it's like anything in life. You move 2 steps forward in one area, and then you have to take 1 step backward. You move 2 more steps forward, and you have to take another step backward. And sometimes you don't see the movement happening. But underneath the surface, all of the things are moving, and all of the things are growing, and all of the things are coming forward. So even when we feel sometimes like we're not advancing, we might be advancing energetically, we might be advancing in our personal lives. I started working through the internal family systems with Dr. Richard Schwartz. Amazing program. I am in the middle of needing all this money for the government permits, and I'm like, oh, I don't care. I'm gonna spend, a few $100s taking this course with Richard Schwartz, the Dr. Richard Schwartz, because I need this. I need to get through some of my own parts to get to a place where I can manage my disappointment, my frustration, the feeling of like wanting to move forward faster and having to wait. It's not the right moment. I have to get to the next step. Maybe to get the permits, I'm going to have to sell a piece of land or do something creative, but the solution will be there in the right moment. And this is where, if we're working with a co-creation, it's a co-creation. And this is where, if we don't have that connection in our heart center, if we don't have that connection with the earth, the connection with higher self, we don't connect with the synchronicity that we need in order to make our life purpose, goals, plans, to get to that place where we're living that amazing, beautiful life. So this is my journey. I'm just sharing it here with the podcast and the YouTube channel, and I'll just keep sharing until I get to a place where, the podcast gets views or the YouTube channel takes off, or I figure out how to create the content in just the right way. But I'll wake up every day and figure out, as I go through the work with the hotel and the retreat center, what can I do for helping people to see, as a life mentor, helping people to see that they can also live this beautiful, turned on, amazing life. So have a great day. I hope you enjoy the birds and the jungle sounds in the morning. The podcast isn't just about me talking, so I love that the microphone picks up the morning birds and the jungle noises and our beautiful pets that we have here, our cats and dogs that we have. And you can hear toucan. The toucan kind of sounds like a frog. Okay, so have a wonderful day, and I hope that you're taking 1 step closer today on your journey to getting to a place where you're living your turned on, beautiful life mission, your life purpose, and you wake up with this energy that you're creating inside yourself and in your life that makes your life fulfilling, and you wake up charged and inspired and full of energy. And even though there's difficult times and challenges and setbacks, as you get used to living your life this way, you'll wake up each day with more and more energy, and it's a beautiful life when you live it in this way.